Okay, we're taking a look at the homework from lesson number 7 here, where we're looking at y equals mx plus b and solving linear relations. So let's get into it. First one, so we're looking to upgrade car stereo, and we're going to need approximately $400. We have 50 bucks in the bank, and we're trying to save 40 bucks a week. So we got to figure out, okay, what's the equation we can develop in order to get to this $400. So we always want to set it up in the format y equals mx plus b. So for this, what is our rate of change? Well, we're trying to save $40 a week. So our money is going to change at a rate of $40 a week. That is our slope. That is our m. That is our rate. So when we make our formula, we can say y equals 40x because we're changing at $40 per week. Now, what's our y-intercept? That's basically what is our starting value. Well, it says we start with 50 bucks in our bank account, so that would definitely be our y-intercept. That's where we are starting. So after how many weeks will we have saved enough money? All we need to do there is say, okay, if this is the formula to figure out how much we are saving, that means this is how much do we currently have saved. So let's plug in 400 for our y value, and then we can solve for x. That's how many weeks it's going to take. So we'll put 400 equals 40x plus 50. And we'll bring that 50 over. We'll get 400 minus 50 equals 40x. So we get 350 equals 40x. Oh boy. Let's back that up. 40x, divide both sides by 40, divide by 40, and you're going to get an x of 8.75. Okay. So for 5, I asked you to do all of those, and all of those are the exact same. So once you do 1, you should be able to do the rest quite easily. So I'll take you through 1 really well, and then the rest you should be able to do. So determine the equation of each line given the slope and the coordinates. So remember, we want to fit this into our y equals mx plus b. So here I'm going to be doing a. So y equals mx plus b. Now, we are given our slope. Our slope, it says, is 2 in this question. So what we need to do is we need to take the point that they've given us, this 4, 4, and we need to plug it into our equation. And now they've given us a lot of information because that 4 here, this is our y-coordinate, and we know that this 4 here is our x-coordinate. So what we can do is we can put those into their proper spots. And here they're both 4, so it's not a big deal. So our y-coordinate was 4, so we'll put a 4 there, equals 2 times whatever our x-coordinate is, and that was also 4. So 2 times 4 plus b. And now what we'll do is we'll solve for this. So we can say 4 equals 2 times 4 is 8 plus b. Bring this over, we get 4 minus 8 equals b. So b is going to be equal to negative 4. This gives us a final answer of y equals 2x. And now instead of that plus b, we know our b value is minus 4. So our final equation will be that. Okay, I'm going to do the next one for you. Actually, maybe I'm going to do G for you, just to show you. Okay, so for this one, you want to do the exact same thing, y equals mx plus b, and let's start fitting some of our stuff in. So y equals our m here is 0.5. We don't know our x, and we don't know our b, but they gave us some information. This is our y, this is our x, so we can plug it in. So our y is 5. 0.5 times our x, and our x is 0, plus b. So this one's actually pretty easy. 5 equals 0.5 times 0 is just 0, plus b, which means our b is equal to 5. We don't have to do any work. So our final equation here would be 0.5x plus 5 for that. Okay? Perfect. So let's move on to 6. 6 says solve each equation for b. So I'm going to do that one just over here. I'll just make this a little smaller. Okay, so our first one for a, we have 8 equals 3 times 2 plus b. So 8 equals 3 times 2 is 6 plus b. And we bring that over, you're going to get 8 minus 6 equals b. So b equals 2 for the first one. The next one, we have 220 equals 2.5 times 50 plus b. And when you do the math on that, you're going to get 125 plus b. So when you bring that over, 220 minus 125 equals b. That gives you a b value of 95. Okay, so we did that. We solved for both of those, our A and our C. Okay, 7 is probably the hardest it's going to get. So if you can do 7, you should be able to do the rest no problem, because this one, they don't give you the slope. They don't really give you any information other than 2 points on this line. So let's take a look at doing 7a. So we're going to take a look at 7a. So very first thing you always want to do is you want to figure out what is your slope. And the easiest way to do slope is this formula here that we talked about in our lesson. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is our y2, this is our y1, this is our x2, and that is our x1. In fact, you could have switched it over and made that C point. You could have made those y2 and x2, but I just did it nice and easy. It doesn't matter if you picked C to be your 1s, or C to be your 2s, or D to be your 1s, or D to be your 2s. As long as you're consistent, you're fine. So y2 minus y1, so we're going to have y2, which was 7, minus y1, which is 2, divided by x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 2. And what that gives us 5 over 1, and now you're allowed to put it in your calculator. Do not put in your calculator before that. It will give you the wrong answer because of BEDMAS. So this gives you a slope of 5. And now it's the exact same as the question we did in number 5. So now we can put it into our formula, y equals mx plus b. We just solved our m. We know that it's 5. So we have 5x plus b. And now you can pick either point. You can pick either c or you can pick d, and you can use either of those in yours. So I'm just going to pick D. So I'll put D in. So my y value in D was 7 equals 5 times, what's my x value? Well, it says there that it's 3 plus b. So we get 7 equals 5 times 3, which is 15 plus b. And 7 minus 15 equals b. So we get negative 8 equals b. So when we put it together, we have this, we have that. We can find our formula. Y equals our m, which we calculate to be 5, x, and then plus b, it is minus 8. Awesome. Okay, let's do another one here. Let's pick E to do. So I'm going to do E in this little space over here, and it's going to be okay because I'm going to zoom in. First thing I want to do is get my points. So I have m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 minus y1 is, I'm going to make this my y2, this my y1. So negative 8 minus 0 divided by 3 minus negative 9. 3 minus negative 9. Negative 8 minus 0 is negative 8, and 3 minus negative 9 is actually positive 12, so make sure you got that right. Negative 8 divided by 12, if you do that on your calculator, or if you just reduce it, I always recommend just getting a decimal just to make it a little easier to work with. It's going to give you a value of negative 0.67. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this into our formula. Y equals negative 0.67 times x plus b, and we can pick either point. I'm going to pick this point just because it's got a 0 and it's a little bit easier to work with. So that point is 0 for y equals negative 0.67 times x, which was negative 8, I believe. Nope, it was negative 9. Negative 9 plus b. So now what we'll do is 0 equals negative 0.6 times 9, which is positive 6 plus b. Bring that over and you get b equals now negative 6 because it crossed over the equal sign. Okay, perfect. So now what we need to do is put our whole thing together. Y equals our slope, which is negative 0.67, x plus b, which is minus 6. Sorry. Oh, man. Okay, for 9, it says this graph used to determine the cost of the service called determine the equation of the line. So this is nice and easy for us because we can just do what we just did in 7. Pick any 2 points that you might like. So I'm definitely going to pick this point here because it's really easy to read. This point looks like it is 2 comma, and it looks like it's 175. And then I guess I'm going to pick this point here, and that point looks to be 3 comma, and it's a little bit above 225, so I'll call it 230. Okay, so let's determine the equation of the line. We know how to do this now, because first thing we have to do, we always want to find slope. That is our key here. So we're going to do y2 minus y1. So I'll make this one 0.2, this one 0.1. So y2, that's 230, minus y1, which is 175, divided by x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 2. And that's going to give me 230 minus 175 is 55 over 1. So my m value is just 55. Awesome. Now we got to determine my y-intercept, but here we actually don't need to really determine it because we can kind of see it, but we'll use math to just make sure we're right. This looks to be about 70-ish, somewhere in that range, so let's hope that we are on the right track. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it into our equation, y equals 55x plus b, and now we can just plug a point in. So I'm going to use, I'll use this point here. So y is 230 equals 55 times 3 plus b. 230 equals 165 plus b. Bring that over, 230 minus 165 equals b. And that's going to give me a value of 65 equals b, which was pretty close to what I guessed. So our final is y equals 55x plus 65 for that equation of the line. Okay, 13. Some salespeople are paid by commission. Blah, blah, blah. So we earn a salary of $500 plus a commission on all sales. So if my sales were $10,000 in 1 week, his total earnings would be $1,100. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay, so here's what we know. Y equals mx plus b. We know we have to fit it into this. It also knows that we get $500 no matter what plus a commission of our sales. So we know this is our starting value. No matter what, we're going to get this. This is our b. This is our y-intercept. This is what we start off with no matter what. So y equals mx plus our b value, which we know is 500. Now we don't know how much we earn per week. We don't know our m. But we do know, it says if our sales were $10,000, we actually end up making $1,100 as our weekly salary. So let's take a look. So our total earnings, this is our y value, right? This is our total, depend on how much we sold in 1 week, so this is going to be our x value. So what we'll do is we'll plug this into our equation. 1,100 equals m times our x value, which is 10,000, plus 500. So all we did there is we just plugged those other two numbers they gave us, and now we're allowed to solve for m. So we'll swing this over. 1,100 minus 500 equals 10,000 m, and we get 600. I'll erase that little weird thing going on there. Equals 10,000 m. Now we'll divide both sides by 10,000. Divide this side by 10,000. And we get 6 over 100, or 0.06, equals our m value. So now we have our equation of the line. Y equals 0.06 x plus whatever our b value is. We said that was 500. So here is our final equation. Okay, awesome. Now we are on to our graphing component. So let's just make sure we know what questions we have to do here. So we're doing 1 ACE, 3 AC, and 5. Okay, perfect. So for each equation, identify the slope and the y-intercept, then graph the line. So for our first one, we know our slope here is that. We know our y-intercept is -4. So our m is 3, our b is -4. Okay? So now to graph these things, there's a couple of ways we can do this. I'll show you one for this one, and then I'll show you a different one for the next one. So the one I'm going to show you for this one is the easiest way. I think you're always going to get the right answer, it's just a little bit more work, but it's super easy. So for 1A, we're going to make a table of values. I always think it's a good idea to use 0, 1, 2, and 3. We want to figure out what's our y. So all we're going to do is we're take that 0 and we're going to plug it into our equation. And our equation, don't forget, is 3x minus 4. So to calculate y for the first one, we're going to go 3 times 0 minus 4. 3 times 0 minus 4 is minus 4. Next, we're going to go 3 times 1 minus 4. So if you do that on your calculator, that's going to give you negative 1. 3 times 2 minus 4, that's going to give you 2. 3 times 3 minus 4 is going to give you 5. Okay, perfect. So now we have the points we need. Now we can go ahead and graph this thing. So I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit. So we have our points. I'm just going to see if this is going to work for me, just so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. Oh, so smart. All right. Ooh, didn't like that. So here's my lovely graph. And now we'll plot our points. So when x is 0, y is 1, 2, 3, negative 4. When x is 1, y is negative 1. When x is 2, y is positive 2. And when x is 3, y is positive 5. Good stuff. We can draw a line to connect these things up, and we're good. You should always make it a habit to label your axes. That way everyone knows what numbers you are referencing. Okay, perfect. That's the first one done. The next one, so we need to figure out what's our slope and y-intercept. So for here, m equals negative 2 and b equals positive 3. So just knowing those two things, I don't need to make a table of values. I'll show you another way of doing this. M equals 2, b equals negative 3. So I'm just going to write that down so I don't forget. M equals 2, b equals negative 3. If this is our axis, we have 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, perfect. So it says our b value is negative 3. That's our y-intercept. So that would be right there. And now our m is 2. So that means our rise over run has to be 2, which means our rise is 2 over 1. That's how we get to the value of 2. So that means every 2 steps we take up, we're going to take 1 step over. So we're going to go 1, 2 over 1. 1, 2 over 1. 1, 2 over 1. 1, 2 over 1. And that would be it. We're done. So another very easy way to do it. Okay, excellent. And the last one, y equals 7. Notice how there's nothing connected to our x here, because there is actually a slope of 0. We don't have an x value present, slope of 0, but we do have a b value, that is 7. Okay, this one, when you have this slope of 0 means flat line. So let's take a look at how it's going to look. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what happens here is you are going to have your y-intercept to 7, and every other point, no matter what your x value is in that equation, you're always going to have a flat line at and through the point of 7. So keep that in mind. If you see no x, you always get a flat line. Okay? Perfect. All right, now these ones are a little tricky, so we're going to graph each line. So this one I'm going to make a table of values, and C I'm going to do the other way. You can choose which way you'd like. Okay, table of values, so we're going to use x, we're going to use y, 0, 1, 2, 3. So for the first one, 1/2 times 0 plus 2 just gives me a value of 2. 1/2 times 1 plus 2, if you do that on your calculator, it's going to give you 2.5. 1/2 times 2 plus 2 is going to give you, it's going to give you 3. 1/2 times 3 plus 2 is going to give you 3.5. So let's go ahead and graph that. And I'm just going to copy that again because that was really handy last time. Awesome. Okay. Draw that. Oh, I want a straight line. There. Awesome. So here's our center point. So here's our 0. So we have x is 1, 2, 3, and our y's are going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So perfect. So when x is 0, y is 2. When x is 1, y is 2.5. When x is 2, y is 3. And when x is 3, so it's a nice slow slope. And we know it's going to be a slow slope because our slope is only 0.5. It's 1/2. If our m was 100, this thing would be shooting up like that, super, super sharp. So the lower our slope is, the flatter our line is going to be. Okay? And the last one, here's what we know here. We know our m is -3/4 and our b is 1. So let's try to figure that one out. So we have an m equals -3/4, a b value of 1. So we know our b value, let me get this axis right. Here's our 0. So our b value is 1, and now what we're going to do, remember this is our rise over run. So our rise is -3, so we're going to count down 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to count over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 4. And you're always counting to the right, and we could do that forever and ever and ever, and every point would fall on this beautiful little line that I've drawn here. Excellent. And the last question here. So create a graphical relation that models the cost for up to 5 toppings. So we're just going to create our table of values here. So we have x and we have y. So it says cost $3.50 plus 0.75 cents per topping. So you can have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 toppings. And let's figure out how much it costs. So if you get no toppings, pizza's still going to cost $3.50. Now if you get 1 topping, you got to add 75 cents to that, so it's going to cost you $4.25. If you get 2 toppings, it's going to cost you $5. 3 toppings is going to cost you $5.75. 4 is going to cost you $6.50, and 5 is going to cost you $7.25. Now you could take all this and you could turn it into a lovely graph, but I trust that you are fully capable of doing that. Make sure you are doing your quizzes and your assessments as they are assigned. They are incredibly important because we are marking those always. Thanks for listening.